Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to How We'd Book It. Now, if you're new to the show, this is a show where we talk about scenarios and wrestlers and how we'd book them, whether it be different promotions or the current promotions they're in, or maybe it's an event. Maybe we go back in time and book somebody differently than how they were actually booked. You know, we did Sting last time, and this time, a very special episode. We were going to do Malachi Black in AEW and talk about how we'd book him, but there's been a lot of things going on in the wrestling world over the past week, so you're getting 2 episodes this week. But if you haven't, before we get into it, go leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcast, as it does help out the podcast.
That's 5-star review.
Yes, sir. Now,
speaking of last week's episode, did you do your homework?
Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, no, I didn't.
I told you, it wouldn't take you. It's Hogan matches, man. It won't take you 15, 20 minutes total for both matches.
I know. I'm messing up.
Oh, God. Okay.
Anyways.
Continue.
So today,
as you were.
Today, we're going to be talking about CM Punk and his return to professional wrestling, as he's been blowing up headlines for the past week, saying that he has signed with All Elite Wrestling.
Are we just going to skip introductions and all that happy horse shit this week, or is that what we're doing now?
No, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm just letting them know what we're going to be talking about. Hi.
Okay.
My name is Christian Ingram. You can find me anywhere on the social web at allcharisma_CI if you want to talk to me. We actually have a Facebook group now. How We'd Book It Pro Wrestling Fans on Facebook.
Is that so?
Yeah.
How many members we got now?
We got a little over 50.
50
members.
50. Yeah.
So I am.
And I, of course, what? You going to interrupt me like that?
Yeah, my bad.
Come
you
on,
good.
Man. Come on, man.
I was going to throw it to you.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. I'll wait.
I'll
wait.
I was just going to say, I'm one of the hosts of the show, and joining me and do the little NWO thing like this.
Too sweet.
I'm going the wrong way. There we go.
I got to keep remembering my camera's on the other side here.
Not fair. I always forget where the camera's at.
In the wrestling business, you better learn where that red light's at.
Yeah, someone said that the in our Facebook group that the Too Sweet symbol looks like a llama head.
It's actually the Turkish Mafia symbol.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay. Anyways.
And it was started by X-Pac, or the 1-2-3 kid at the time. He said, I forgot the exact story, but you can look it up. He said he was reading or watching something on the Turkish Mafia, and he thought it was cool, so he just started doing it.
Well, now it's ingrained in pro wrestling history.
In the annals of history.
Yes, sir. All right, Jason.
Still waiting on you. I'm still waiting on you to throw to me.
I threw it to you. I went like this.
No, you didn't. Then we started talking about that. And boys and girls, I, of course, am the one and only J. Brandon Ingram. I am down here at the Myrtle. Where are you at there, Christian? Where are you coming to us from?
An undisclosed location, 300 feet under the earth.
Parts unknown. Dun, dun, dun.
Soon to be from the Bowery next week.
Oh, yeah, because you're coming to see me. That's right. And you can find me all over the intraweb. Find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. Hell, I even created a TikTok. Even I got some heat for that one TikTok video. I thought it was fucking hysterical, but that's just me.
I'm not going to lie to you. I laughed at the comments.
I know, I did too. But it's like people take a joke. It's anyway. And if you're in Myrtle, you can come catch me at the world famous Dollhouse. Yes. Come see me. You can hear my smiling voice over the microphone.
And if you want to hear any music, throw him some money in the tip jar. He might even play Break It Down by D-Generation X.
I could do that. I can get away with that.
So when I come in there, that's what you're playing, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Break it down.
Okay, so AEW CM Punk. We got to start at the beginning with CM Punk. See, if you don't know who CM Punk is, first off, where the fuck have you been? And second off,
now that's not very fair.
Really?
Yeah, that's not fair. Come on.
They've been chanting this man's name since he left.
Okay, well, maybe, but he hadn't been in the wrestling ring since January of 2014. You could have had some 4 or 5 year old kids not watching that are now 11, 12 years old. You could have had some adults that didn't get into it until their kids, started watching and got into it with them. There's a lot of reasons you might not know who CM Punk is if you're just a, an average, ordinary day, last 5-year fan. I mean, so, just because.
You cut out. I can't hear you.
What?
There you go. You came back.
No, I said, just because they're chanting a man's name doesn't mean that somebody's going to take the time to go home and look it up. They just went to an event or watched a TV show for, entertainment purposes. They're not there to do a history lesson.
But you are. So give us a history on CM Punk.
Well, he was an indie darling. Did real well in Ring of Honor. Went over, won their title when he was leaving. He's been controversial for a long time. I'll give it to Ring of Honor. They let him go in there and actually sign his WWE contract, whether it was a legit contract or just.
No, it was a legit contract.
That he signed on the Ring of Honor world title. And, he came in with a lot of buzz. And, Paul Heyman loved him. And, famous story that gets told is in one of the ECW pay-per-views, the reboot of ECW, was the Elimination Chamber. And Heyman wanted Punk to go over. And Vince was having no parts of it, talking about how he was going to choke you. You telling me, and I think Bobby Lashley was in that match, if I remember right. But I know the Big Show was, this little dude's going to choke out all these people. No. So, and now they say that Heyman, when he's ready to help out somebody, that, he does them more harm than good sometimes, because Vince gets tired of hearing the guy's name because Heyman brings it up so much.
I've heard that story a lot, where Heyman has screwed people over by doing it. Great intentions on his end, but it ends up fucking the people.
Speaking of Heyman, did you see that shit on Friday night?
No. You
need to watch that. That was just fucking. Oh my God, I was laughing so hard I couldn't stand it. I came by. You didn't see the clips?
Nope.
All right, long story short, because we're not talking about Cena, Roman, or Heyman, but long story short, Cena comes out. He's challenging Roman. He goes through his whole spiel. Heyman comes out talking about the tribal chief and this, that, and the other. Cuts promo on Cena and says he'll have his answer by the end of the show, that the tribal chief will come out and address it. And as he turns around to walk off, he hits the, and this is all ad lib over the microphone. Da, 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 da,
I did see that, actually.
Like he's strutting. Oh my God, it was hysterical. He like hummed and like sang Cena's music his whole way back through the curtain. It was absolutely fucking hysterical.
Gotta love Heyman.
So go ahead and we'll start where you want to start with old Chick Magnet.
Yeah, actually, that's what the CM stands for. For a long time, it was speculated as CM Venom. That's CM Venom was his tag partner, but Chicago Made is what that people thought the CM stood for. Honestly, that's what I would have told people if I was him.
Well, he pulled AJ Lee, so I ain't mad at him.
Yeah, that's fair. He, from what I heard, he pulled a lot of divas back in the day.
Yeah, him and Matt Hardy both. So. Fucking whores.
Let's start with CM Punk. I watched a documentary the other day. He trained in Chicago, Lunatic Wrestling Federation. He made.
Now wait a minute. Which documentary did you watch?
I watched the WWE one, Best in the World, and then I watched the Wrestling with Andy one, Best in the World, the CM Punk story. So I was pretty much prepared for this one.
All right, well, good, because I haven't seen either one of them. So I'm going strictly off memory.
Fair enough. So CM Punk started out Chicago, did some Chicago-based indie, and then he went all around wrestling with, I don't remember the name of the promotion, but it was him, Chris Hero, Colt Cabana, and I forgot the other dude's name, but they tore up the indies. That's when Ring of Honor started. He became one of the stars of Ring of Honor, but he had a little stint in TNA, but he quit because they told him he couldn't work Ring of Honor, and he was like, "Yeah, F that." So,
he was part of Raven's group with Julio De Niro and Mickey James.
Yeah, Raven's Flock or something like that.
Yeah, speaking of Colt Cabana, that should be an interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because if he goes to AEW, there's some bad blood there.
Yeah, I don't even know if that lawsuit ever got settled, because he was supposed to pay Cabana's legal fees and then he didn't, and Cabana sued him. I don't know if it's still in court or if it's whatever.
I don't know, man. I really don't know. That's something I'd have to look up.
Maybe Tony Khan just stroked old Colt a check. He shut the fuck up. I got you here. I'm bringing him in.
Here's your money. I'll pay for it. It's all good, bro. So CM Punk goes on to tear Ring of Honor down, has the best of 3 matches with Samoa Joe. And, those were some great matches. And then...
Yeah, those were definitely classic matches those two guys put on.
Yeah, I think it's the second one was their highest DVD sale of the time. And, DVDs don't matter much anymore, but back in like the early 2000s, that was a big deal.
Yeah, that was a good stream of revenue before all the streaming services catch.
Yeah. So Samoa Joe, then he went on to do the Summer of Punk, where he won the title after it leaked that he was leaving. And, he was just on fire. People thought he was going to show up on Monday Night Raw with the Ring of Honor Championship, which we knew better. We knew. We knew better.
You never know.
I mean, nowadays, anybody's going to show up with a title from a different company. It's going to be in AEW or New Japan or Impact. Who knows?
I don't know, man. I mean, Flair did it back in the day, but yeah, that was part of the whole screw job, if you remember right, because Vince was so scared that Brett was going to take that world title to Nitro.
I don't blame him. Shit, he probably would have. So, CM Punk.
Honestly, as much of an asshole as I heard Bret Hart could be, I've heard he was a very big, on tradition. I don't think he would have done it.
I don't know. That's actually an episode for another day.
I don't think Flair would have done it if they just gave him his damn money.
Yeah, yeah, they should have just given that man his money. So, back to CM Punk. He ends up signing with WWE. They send him down to OVW. He wins the TV title and the world title. Gets called up. Goes on a losing streak in ECW. Well, no, he went on a winning streak and then a losing streak. And then he won the ECW belt. Won Money in the Bank twice. Won the World Heavyweight title 3 times. And the WWE Championship twice, as well as the Intercontinental title and the World Tag Team titles.
You say the World Heavyweight title? Oh, yeah,
yes, sir. Sitting right there.
Well, I mean, the belts really don't mean that much anymore. You can put them on. You can put them on just about anybody. It's the man makes the title or the woman makes the title, not the other way around. You can. It's been proven. They've tried to put the belt on people to give them a push, and it just didn't work. I mean, if they're not connecting with the audience, then
it's done. It's done. So that was just basically all of CM Punk's accomplishments, and let's talk about where his frustrations really started, which was right before the 2011 Money in the Bank. He signed a new contract, and he got everything he wanted in that contract.
Is that when he started? Is that when he got to drop the pipe bomb and come out to Cult of Personality?
It was right before Money in the Bank 2011. And everything he said, he legitimately felt. And, back in those days, he mentioned Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And that was just something WWE never did.
He did the Hey Colt Cabana on Raw.
Yeah, so.
No, but I mean, like I said, I was listening to Jim Cornette the other day, and he was talking about how that, when CM Punk started coming out to Cult of Personality, how him working for Vince as long as he did, he said he knew that man got everything he asked for because Vince hates to license music. So
yeah, which actually kind of screws him now because Tony Khan loves doing it, and he's gonna license Cult of Personality for CM Punk.
Oh, I'm sure that was part of the contract. I'm sure that was CM Punk. Seems like he's very, very thorough with that kind of stuff, and if he's been gone long enough for him to come back, I mean, hey. I don't know if he got any kind of creative control, but I know he got
almost guarantee it
for creative freedom, his music. I mean, he probably got damn near anything he wanted.
Mm-hmm. So 2011 Money in the Bank, CM Punk walks out of WWE, walks out. If you're listening, I'm doing quotation marks with my hands. Like he didn't really walk out. Yeah. He didn't really walk out. He signed a new contract and he came back like a few weeks later. They could have done so much with that, and I think that's something we should rebook, the Summer of Punk. And he came back and it was just awful. I loved him winning the title. That was probably one of my favorite moments in wrestling history. But they wasted so much potential with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that's come and gone with a lot of different people that they've wasted, so that's not surprising.
True. Okay, so let's fast forward to 2013 because I'm not going to talk about the Summer of Punk because I can do that for all day. 2013 Royal Rumble. He loses his 334-day reign as champion to The Rock, a part-timer, and he was pissed. He was legitimately pissed.
And I don't blame him. He wanted that main event spot at WrestleMania. That was the one thing he did want. I mean, he hasn't shied away from that. He thought he deserved it. He thought he had worked hard enough to get it. He thought his work rate was good enough to get it. He thought his promos were good enough to get it. And it wasn't so much, losing the belt to The Rock as it was losing the belt period and not having that main event spot he thought he had earned.
He thought he should have been put in a triple threat with Cena and The Rock. And, I don't disagree with that.
Now that I do. I mean, that's not.
But we'd already seen it before.
Well, yeah, we had, but I mean, it's just, they set that up a year in advance. Everybody already knew because the internet was, pretty popular by then, that it was set up. Now I didn't realize it was going to be a title match to be, per se. But when Cena laid down for The Rock the year before, everybody already knew that, he had signed to come back and face Cena one more time.
Yeah, because they're not going to let Rock beat Cena like that.
To give him his win back.
Yeah, and get the WWE Championship. So, I'm not mad at The Rock. You can't be, but I can understand CM Punk's frustration. And that's where it really boiled over because the next year he was gone. 2014 Royal Rumble was the last time we saw CM Punk.
Yeah, and the last thing we saw of him was him laying in the corner, basically hurt.
Yeah, he walked out on that Raw and he did a tell-all podcast with Colt Cabana. So that's essentially CM Punk's WWE run in a short, condensed version. So, I guess this is a part of the show where we book him. Anything else you want to say about CM Punk?
No, I will just say this, and right, wrong, or indifferent, you can like the WWE, you can hate the WWE, but I will say this for CM Punk, hell, and for Daniel Bryan, that matter too. I mean, it's a lot of comparisons there. Those are the two big names being talked about this week. The fans sent Daniel Bryan over. They fell in love with Bryan Danielson, and if it wasn't for the fans and that, that Raw takeover or set in or whatever the hell they called it when Daniel did that, he wasn't going to be world champion. It just, Vince does not, that's when you go to WWE, if you're 5'8" to 5'10", right under 6 foot and, 190 to 210. I'm not trying to sound morbid, because Triple H likes the indie guys. I mean, you can see that by NXT and what he's done with it, but Vince doesn't. Vince likes Bobby Lashley. Vince likes, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg. I mean, that's what Vince likes. And, again, right, wrong, or indifferent, Bryan Danielson and CM Punk had a lot better run in the WWE than I ever thought they would. And they earned it. I mean, they worked hard for it and the fans helped a lot with it, but just watching it as long as I have, Vince does not like the smaller guys. So they got a lot more out of it than I ever thought they would.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I don't know. Daniel Bryan, like, as much as everybody liked him, he had a banger match with Chris Jericho on his first night on NXT. So, but yeah, if it wasn't for Triple H, which is ironic because he hated Punk, a lot of them smaller guys wouldn't have gotten the chances, but the fans are the ones who put Daniel Bryan over, especially when considering he wasn't in the Rumble that year and they booed Rey Mysterio out of the building.
Oh my God. Poor old Ray. I remember that too. I mean, that would have been a good spot for any heel. It doesn't matter. But why you do that to Ray? You got to put poor old Rey Mysterio, who's a fan favorite, and his music kid. He got booed out of the building.
And it wasn't Ray's fault. Like, I'm not a big fan of Rey Mysterio. I was pissed to see him, though.
I mean, like I said, poor old Ray. I felt bad for him. His music hit, and man, that shit all over it, man. It was,
you suck. Like, yo.
Poor old Ray. I still remember that. Wow.
And then you remember it was the Randy Orton versus John Cena match, right? The build up to that, and it was all former world champions in the ring, and Daniel Bryan was there, and the fans started chanting yes for like 10 minutes straight, and Mark Henry finally raised Daniel Bryan's hand and was like, "Aye, stop."
No, that one I don't remember, but
All right, I gotta show you that clip. But yeah, I mean and 2014 when CM Punk walked out, I don't think if he had walked out, Daniel Bryan would have. I don't think he would have been in the main event of WrestleMania.
no, probably not. But again, you never know.
So, all right, Punk, one of the best in the world, and
he was,
and probably the best promo in WWE for a long time. So it was great seeing him, but he was out by 2014 where he tried his hand in UFC. No hate to the man because he did fail at it, but like he was like 30 something when he got into it.
Well, I mean, it's like Michael Jordan has always said, he missed more shots than he ever made. I mean, no, respect to the guy for, like you said, his age, getting into it. I mean, it was a dream and he followed it. He didn't let it, he didn't let the fact that those guys were 10, 15 years younger than he was, training their whole life for that stuff, stop him or scare him. I mean, he went out there and took that ass whipping like a man. He never bitched about it. He went back and trained for another one. I mean, so no, I mean, mad respect to him for that. Cause a lot of people like, I can't do that. And, one of the famous quotes out there is like, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. Mm-hmm. And, so no, I mean, no, I agree. Mad respect to him for that. I mean, at 48, I'd be damned if I'd go get in a UFC ring with somebody like that.
No,
but
absolutely not.
But that's, he followed his dream. And now, if he hadn't got pissed off and was happy in WWE and stayed, would it have happened? Probably not. But I mean, I'm sure he was bored. And he had a lot of pent up anger. I mean, he got served his release papers on his wedding day. I mean, so.
Yeah, that was some fucked up shit. So now you know the gist of what happened to CM Punk. He did eventually return to WWE, not in like a huge fashion. He signed with Fox to be like a WWE analyst, right?
Yes.
And that show
whatever the hell too long. Whatever the hell the name of that was.
Backstage.
Oh yeah, but you got to figure too. That had premiered a couple of months. You'd have to look up the dates to get it exact, but that had premiered right before COVID hit. So that's probably why it didn't last but so long.
Yeah, and it was good seeing him back. Everyone was like, "Oh, Punk's back in WWE," but then you look more into it, and it wasn't actually WWE. Yes, he was an analyst for WWE content, but he was signed as Fox. And now that
technically, yeah. Well, technically, the way those contracts were signed. Renee Young or whatever her name actually is. She had signed a Fox deal too. So if they ever wanted to bring that show back, she could still host it.
Yeah, no, she could. So he came back and he did that, but he hasn't been in a wrestling ring. I'm sure he's like wrestled around and whatnot. And I know he wrestled under like a mask and did some stuff with his friends at some like indie promotions, but he hasn't really done anything until, all right, this is where we're going to start getting to where he got back into wrestling. He started doing a wrestling TV show that's going to be on HBO Max. It's called Heels. It has Stephen Amell from Arrow in it. It actually looks pretty good, and I think we might want to review that.
Yeah, when is it supposed to come out?
I think mid-August. I think.
I haven't even seen any clips from it. I mean, I heard about the show, but I haven't seen any kind of clips or anything.
Yeah, that's something we'll look into. So CM Punk was in the show. He was wrestling with Stephen Amell, who's like this with Cody, and Cody's one of the VPs of AEW. And
EVP.
Yeah, so I guess, well, let's talk about All In first, because All In was the event before predating AEW, and that was in Chicago, which is CM Punk's hometown.
And that's where a lot of people thought he was going to pop back up.
At least a one-time appearance, but that didn't happen, and I can understand it. So there's been rumors for years ever since that oh, he's coming to AEW, or oh, he's coming back to WWE. And this time, I think it's actually legit.
There's been enough speculation out there, and like I told you, I mean, I'm sure. First off, let's just cut through the bullshit. I'm sure they offered him a shitload of money.
No doubt.
And like I said, creative freedom. And he, it's some of his buddies back there, and. I mean, he's got Mark Henry. He's got the Big Show. There's, he's got Cody, people there he knows. Bryan's coming in too. And, I'm sure he's just, ready to have some fun, because I mean who wants to go out of their career in the last thing of your wrestling career, be laying in the corner of the Royal Rumble, and then the next time you get in a, any kind of a fighting scene, get your ass kicked. Who wants that to be the lasting memory that people have? So I can see why he wants to come back, kind of go out on his own sword, not on somebody else's.
No, I can totally see it. I can totally see him wanting to do that. So they probably offered him a ridiculous amount of money to come in. And I'm gonna be real with you. It's gonna be cool seeing CM Punk again, but so his debut will more than likely be at All Out Chicago 2021. I think it's September 5th.
Yeah. The only thing and the one thing that I've heard that I hope is not true is that the contract he signed, he wants to be on TV every week. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, sir.
Yeah. You don't want to do that to yourself.
Well, it's not the work. I mean, I don't mind the work, but I mean, okay, we haven't seen you regularly in 7 years. Don't come out and overexpose yourself where people are like, okay, go back to your fucking hole, please.
Yeah. Don't overextend yourself. I don't think he needs to be on TV every week. I mean, as a wrestling match, maybe a backstage segment here or there, but as far as like a mainstay every week, nah, we're good. We don't even see Kenny every week. He's the world champion.
Well, I told you. I mean, that's my thing is that AEW is more closer. You take out some of the bullshit, but like with Kenny going to Impact and Kenny going to New Japan and Lucha and stuff like that, it's closer to the old territory days. Yeah, like I was telling you, AEW is more set up for the territory, like the territories. You take out the comedy stuff and the Orange Cassidy kicks and stuff like that. With Kenny going to New Japan and Impact, Lucha, and stuff like that, back in the day, like I told you, even with WWE not being a territory system, Hogan would be on TV to promote a pay-per-view or a Saturday night's main event. It would just be a promo. You never saw Hogan wrestle on Superstars or Challenge. If you saw him on Primetime, which was what was in place before Raw, it was, it would be a house show match that they were recording for Primetime Wrestling. So, with, you used to get so mad that Brock wasn't on TV every week. Well, the WWE and WCW got us accustomed to seeing the world champion every week. And, I'm always specific when I talk about the NWA versus WCW because there was a big difference. But, I was okay with Brock not being on TV all the time because that's what I grew up on. Like I said, watching what I watched and Flair traveling so much, if you were lucky, you got Flair on TV twice a month, but it was normally just once. It was the other three horsemen that were on TV because Flair was constantly traveling. I mean, so, no, I agree. I mean, with Kenny not being on TV every week is kind of where we were going with that and started that conversation. But no, I mean, there's just with the advent of television this week, you got to leave them wanting more. You don't want them. You don't want people getting sick of you.
No, never. So with that being said, this is the part of the show where we're going to tell you how we would book CM Punk in All Elite Wrestling. Jason, I usually go first, but do you want to go first this time?
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, because it's, I told you that day we were talking about this, off camera when we first started talking about the news breaking, and I don't try to, I don't try to shit all over AEW. I'm glad the boys have another place to work. To see somebody like a CM Punk, who's got a bad taste in his mouth for his run in WWE, that still wants to do it or have somewhere else that he can actually end his career in the spotlight. Cause Ring of Honor is still just, yeah, I mean, well that, and I mean, it's not live. It's not anything like that. And the bad thing is they could be. I mean, Sinclair's got a shitload of money, but, they have that deal and that their own syndication is all they have. But anyway, no, I mean, I've told you before, and it's as much as people are hyped about him coming back, please God, do not do the same thing that WCW did with Hulk Hogan. And what I mean by that is, I've told you this before. I had no issue with Hulk Hogan beating Ric Flair for the world title when he came in. I knew it was going to happen, but you don't do it off the bat. They signed the match, and of course Hogan was worried about having people to work with, and he wanted to work with Flair. They were friends. He trusted Flair not to screw him over, make him look good, which is all fine. But, you don't let Flair lay down the first, Flair laying down that first match when they had Mr. T and Shaquille O'Neal. They made a big production out of it at Bash at the Beach. And Flair laid down for the leg drop 1, 2, 3. No issue with Hogan winning the title. I knew he would when he came in. But, they could have prolonged that for 6 months out to Starrcade, having Flair run from him. Flair was a chicken shit heel champion. That's what he was good at. I'm not saying let him pin Hogan or submit Hogan or anything like that. But Flair could have gotten counted out. He could have gotten DQ'd, Arn interfering. Flair just, rolling out of the ring saying to hell with this and walking out. And finally, whether you put it in a cage or anything like that to keep, it's this is a topic for a different day. But this is what I hate about the cage matches nowadays, is what I always hated about WWE's cage matches was, you could win by escaping the cage. I mean, back in the day in the territory system, when you built up to a cage match, it was to keep that chicken shit heel in the ring. So he got that ass whipping that the fans had been waiting for him to see. And then he finally got what was coming to him, and he either had to pin or submit, submit or get pinned. But they could have ran that out for at least 6 months and then let Hogan take the belt at Starrcade. And it would have been a bigger pop, in my opinion, than what it was by just bringing Hogan in and letting him take the belt immediately. But, and I say that I preface with that, with the CM Punk stuff with that, because, at the end of the day, Hogan hadn't been off TV, the wrestling scene for 7 years. He had been off, 6 months a year tops. But, filming Thunder in Paradise, we had seen him lose to Yokozuna, his last match in the WWF, and which Yokozuna was 500 pounds and 6 foot something. I mean, if the fucker fell on you, in all reality, he's going to, I don't care how big you are, he's going to keep you down for a 3 count.
Yeah.
So, that didn't make Hogan look bad, losing to somebody like Yokozuna. I mean, Yokozuna made 3 of Ric Flair at Ric Flair's heaviest. So like I said, to go into that with what I would do with CM Punk, and I've told you this before. I mean, I'm not a big Kenny Omega fan. But I've heard things about him that I haven't seen. I want to see that side of Kenny Omega. I want Omega to get serious. I want him to tell Don Callis basically, hey man, shut up. I got this one. And I want him to direct it at CM Punk. And just tell him, the last time we saw you in a ring, you were laying down. What have you done in the last 7 years? I've won this title. I've won that title. You say you're the best in the world. Well, that's a long time ago, buddy. And they need to prolong it. Yeah. I don't want to see Punk out there wrestling the Dark Order. I don't want to see Punk out there wrestling, job guys.
I don't want to see him wrestle any WWE guys that he's already wrestled.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see him and Bryan go at it if Bryan is actually coming in. But I mean, what I'm getting to is, and this is short and sweet for me. And I mean, I'll let you have a field day with it, because I'm excited to see what he says when he comes back. I'm excited to see how much of a shoot promo he actually cuts his first time on the microphone. I'm excited to see all that. But what I would be more excited to see as a storytelling program is, again, the guy's been off for 7 years, and you don't immediately give him that match with Kenny. I don't care what the fans want. You make them wait. Yes, you tiptoe all the way around it. You let them have verbal words, and shoot back and forth. And, you make Punk earn that spot in the fans' eyes. And as Kenny as the champion, you make him jump through hoops to get to that. And, and honestly, I like Adam Page. I do. I don't know how this is going to play out for him, because at the end of the day, diehard wrestling fans that remember CM Punk and that love Kenny Omega, they want to see Kenny take on Bryan. They want to see Kenny take on CM Punk. They're not real interested in seeing him against Adam Page now. They were getting excited for, Kenny versus Hangman. And, I'm sorry, no disrespect to Adam Page. I don't think he's as over as people say he is. The fans just like chanting cowboy shit. I mean, they think it's funny. And I think Adam's been, misused. I think he's been misbooked. And I don't think, when he gets this title shot that it's going to go the way that people thought it was going to go at first, because you've got all these different names coming in. And again, I know people's attention span isn't as long as it used to be in the territories. And hell, I mean, the last long, drawn out thing that was ever done in wrestling was, Sting and Hogan. We talked about that last time. That was a long drawn out program. I'm not saying take it that long, but at least 6 months to get CM Punk reacclimated with the fans, and to get him acclimated with the fans that really don't know who he is. And I think the best part about it would be, I mean, like I said, Kenny needs to clean up his act. He needs to get serious when it comes to CM Punk, and stop horsing around like he has been and trying to be funny, and just flat out say, you might have been the best in the world 7 years ago, but I'm here now, Jack, and I got the gold to prove it. And there's no way in hell you're taking it off of me. And I'm going to tell you something else too. When they first hook up, I wouldn't put the belt on CM Punk. I would wait at least a year. I would drag it out. I would let Kenny go over in a chicken shit heel fashion, whether it be a roll up, putting his feet on the ropes. I mean, if you want to go old school with it, whether the Good Brothers interfere, however you want to do it. I wouldn't, the first time they touch, I would not put the belt on Punk, but you give Punk the out of, okay, you won, but you did not beat me. And you draw it out. And that way, maybe by next year when they have All Out or whatever event they want to have in Chicago, I mean, you don't lazy book it. You book it long term, and you book it out to where, he debuts in Chicago this year, and next year you put the strap on him, because that's giving him a year to, I'm sure he's in a ring working somewhere trying to get rid of the ring rust. But he's not the same guy that you remember from 2014 or 2013. And it's not saying but he's got to get his timing back. He's got to get used to working with some of these guys he's never worked with before. And so draw it out. Because, just imagine it. He's going to get this huge pop in Chicago this year. He's going to come out, and the chase is on. And then, finally, like I said, long-term booking, you have the show booked for next year in Chicago. And then, after all this time, after 360 some days of chasing Kenny Omega and interference from the Good Brothers, interference from this person, interference from Callis, interference from the Young Bucks, after all that you put him through, he finally beats Kenny Omega. And you can't, that's going to set Kenny up for a longer title run, because you can't take the title off of him for it to mean something for Punk next year.
No, I agree. I don't disagree with you, because I don't want him to immediately come in and the next week be the world champion. I just think that's bad booking, because as much as I love CM Punk and you love CM Punk, we both know that he's been out of the ring 7 years, and the last time he did anything, he got his ass whooped in UFC.
Yeah, and people are, when he appears, when people start seeing him on TV every week, that's when they'll start going home and looking at the streaming services and looking up on YouTube and stuff to that nature of what he's done, and trying to get, if they don't, well, God, I heard of this guy, but let me go check out some of his stuff, so, and the first thing that's going to, if they go search him now, first thing's going to pop up is AEW. Second thing's going to pop up is probably going to be UFC. And, so no, he's got to, he's got to get that bad taste of those ass whippings in UFC out of people's mouth that know him. And he's got to reclaim that spot of best in the world. So it's like I said, you got to, don't lazy book it. I mean, you plan it out for a year, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And I mean, I think he should come out, say he's going to go for the world championship. Let's say he debuts in Chicago, because that's what makes the most sense. He debuts in Chicago. He comes out, says he's back in wrestling for the world championship. Kenny comes out and they do promo back and forth saying, look, dude, there's a ranking system here. This isn't WWE. You're not going to get the match you want just because you want it. You might have been the best in the world 7 years ago. 2014, you probably damn sure were. But it's 2021, and the best in the world is the cleaner, Kenny Omega.
Like, look, old man, back to the line.
Mm-hmm. And I would have him. Hang on. Sorry, my throat's really dry right now. But I would have him at least 2 matches every month. I would have him run through the roster because the undefeated streak are the what is it? The wins and losses matter in AEW apparently.
Don't get me started.
So I would have him do that. I would have him run through people. Maybe some of his old WWE mates. Jericho. I love Jericho. Jericho's my favorite. I would have him beat Jericho. I would have him beat Mox. I would have him beat MJF. I would have him run through everybody. I mean, obviously, like, he has to get his shit back together. And he needs those wins and eventually become the number 1 contender for the world championship.
This is a different show for a different day, but I agree with you with Mox. I agree with you with Jericho because they have both hit a point in their careers that they can lay down and it not matter. They're still going, whatever. MJF is still very young. So, I'm telling you, even though, like, everybody's expecting Jericho to beat him once he gets done with these labors of Jericho, MJF needs to go over by hook or by crook. Because at the end of the day, if Jericho lays down for him again, when he comes out on TV the next time, they're still going to sing his entrance music and he's still going to be Chris Jericho. MJF, they got to stop misusing him. I mean, he's the best heel they got. And that would actually be a good one for to start out with, if, because I mean, I'm telling you, in my opinion, you can't have Punk come out and really beat any of your top stars because he has been laying off 7 years. Daniel Bryan's a different story. I mean, Daniel Bryan, last time we saw him, he went toe to toe with the best thing WWE's got on TV right now.
And he tapped him out.
And he tapped him out while the referee's back was turned. Mm-hmm. So he's a different story. He's still going. Episode. Exactly. But he's still going. So, but I mean, I'm telling you, and just because, this business has gotten too, it's like, you go back and you listen to Eric Bischoff talk about, that was the one good thing he liked about working for Turner was all the stuff that they had at his disposal he could use, like all these research, parts of the company. And he said that when they were doing research, getting ready to start Nitro, that, what was the one thing wrestling fans liked more than anything, and it was like the unexpected. And that's when he said he knew he had to be live every week, so they couldn't find his results online, and that's why he brought Luger back.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so like I said, I mean, you could even use that as a finish with MJF if they put him in the ring with MJF. Roll up with his feet on the ropes or the Pinnacle helping, whatever the case may be. I just think that Punk needs to come back with a lot of obstacles thrown in his way, and let him like relive some of his, not like behind the scenes, of course, but on camera, relive some of his frustrations from WWE to make it look like that's happening in AEW. Constant being held down. He's trying to get to Kenny. And every time he turns around, he's got, this person or that person getting help from outside or whatever the case may be. And like I said, make it a year-long program for him to get there.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. I think All Out Chicago next year is when he needs to win the belt. But I just don't want to see it on him as soon as he debuts.
No, I think it would be bad. And it would make, Kenny's just now starting to get a U.S. following. And that's another reason I think he needs to stop this comedy shit and, really go into the serious character. And stop trying to do the mutton chops and looking like the Wish version of Triple H. And, because you hear all this good stuff about him, and that's the one bad thing with those guys being EVPs and getting some creative freedom, because it's like, look, man, you didn't get over doing this kind of shit in Japan. You got over in Japan, by doing XYZ. And give us the shit you promised us. Give us the serious wrestling. Let Best Friends give us the comedy stuff. Let the fucking Dark Order give us some comedy here and there.
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, well, I said Best Friends. He's part of the little got a hub group. You don't need it from your world champion. You don't need, because when Jericho came in and became the first world champion, he wasn't doing a lot of this comedy shit he started doing with MJF toward, after he lost the belt and everything else. Make it a serious program, and that could be one of Punk's fucking promos, hey, I came here because y'all promised the wrestling fans something different and something serious, and all I see is blah, this, that, blah, 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 whatever. And, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it, but I just, I hope they don't, they're starting to do stuff that I told you. It's like we were talking about the other day. It's like, what was the name of the WCW show?
Thunder?
No. What was the name of WCW show?
Nitro.
On Monday nights. Nitro. AEW Dynamite. We're bringing all these WWE guys in. Let's bring the WWE guys in. I wasn't mad at a couple of them. Of course, CM Punk and if Daniel Bryan, if they both come, I'm not, those two I understand. Hell, Miro I wasn't mad at. But, you're bringing in Mark Henry and the Big Show for whatever reasons.
I'm not mad at those two, though, because they're not actually wrestling.
But you get what I'm saying. I mean, it's just like, I mean, they already had a lot of talent. He had signed up a lot of indie talent to keep him from going anywhere else. And they're going to wind up in the same position that WCW was in. And in my opinion, WWE's in right now is, I mean, if you go on the WWE's roster page,
it's insane.
It is. It's like they've got all these people under contract, and it's like, okay, oh yeah, I remember him. Where's he at? I remember her. Where's she at? Who the fuck is that? So they're, even though they're getting another show, you're gonna wind up burying some people. You won't have a choice.
No, I think that's one thing. I think their biggest issue is they have too many people on the roster, and that's why I said I want Buddy Murphy to go to Impact.
Yeah, well, we'll see. When's his release date? Like September?
August 31st.
Well, right there, September 1st. So, but yeah, I mean, that's like I said, I know that's short and simple as far as my answer goes, but like I said, I mean, I might even, have him lose a match or two over the year process while he's chasing Kenny, and, make it a year-long chase for the belt, and, get him back in there, get him acclimated with fans that don't know him, get him back and get his ring rust off, and see where it goes. And I mean, and at the end of the day, honestly, you're doing this year-long program. I mean, yeah, he's going to get a huge pop if he appears in Chicago this year. And if they say it's a done deal, which you never know. I mean, it's a wrestling business. But if that's the case and he comes out and cuts this scathing promo, of course he's going to get a huge pop. But, you also have to see over the next, in my opinion, over the next year, not only give him what I was talking about, but see if he can maintain the momentum or make, keep getting it up there and up there and up there, keep it going. And unless, or at the end of his first month where people are like, we waited 7 years for that. You never know. Wrestling fans are fickle, man. And,
they are.
So, I mean, I'm sure it's in his contract. He's going to get the title at some point, but again, it gives you time to see.
Make it a good story.
Well, not only that, but like I said, it gives you time to see if he's going to maintain this momentum he's going to come in with, and then go from there. And like I said, and Kenny, if you're listening, I don't mind you having some fun with it, dude. But like I said, clean your shit up. You got some actual serious contenders coming in that you can make money with and have great matches with. So stop trying to be a fucking comedian and go back to being the guy that everybody hyped up coming over here from Japan. Can you do that for me? Thanks,
The cleaner, the 7-star match. Kenny, by God, Omega.
Fuck Dave Meltzer.
Damn, tell me how you really feel.
Fuck Dave Meltzer.
Okay. So, Jason would have him build up a year-long program, which I don't disagree with. have him eventually win the belt at All Out Chicago next year, with him losing some matches along the way. I have to agree with that. I don't disagree with anything in that, because I think the biggest problem they can do, the biggest mistake they can make, is giving Kenny the belt. I mean, not Kenny, giving Punk the belt right away. That's not something you need to do. So I think we're in agreement. Have Punk come in, draw out a year-long feud, and maybe feud with different people here and there, get his wins up, get his ring rushed off, get the fans acclimated with him again, and then go on and win the belt.
I mean, if you really wanted to get old school with it, you could have Kenny come out and cut a promo of and this shit used to happen all the time in the territories, but have them and this will date it for you, but when Flair was going after Harley Race in the title, Harley Race put out a $10,000 bounty on Ric Flair's head, and Bob Orton Jr. and Dick Slater tried to cash in on it. They beat up Flair pretty bad one day, and nor here nor there. That used to be a thing too. If you really want to go old school with it, have Kenny come out and put a bounty on Punk's head, and have, like I said, just give him all kinds of obstacles to get through before he ever got to Kenny.
I think they need to build Punk back up. If he had went to the UFC and dominated, I feel like we'd be having a different conversation. But since the last thing they saw was him getting his ass whooped in UFC, and like we said, no disrespect to Punk, because I wouldn't do it.
But I'm glad you said what you said. So the next time you get pissed off that Brock Lesnar comes back from a 6-month to a year layoff and just dominates somebody, remember what you just said.
I don't get mad at Brock. I know he's a beast. I get mad when they don't have anybody to go against him. No credible threat.
Well, I mean, even if he came back right now, who do you got that's a credible threat? You got 2 people that would be a credible threat to Brock right now.
Roman and Bobby, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. There is not a man on that roster that Brock Lesnar couldn't tear apart.
Yeah, and Seth Rollins beating him, like, I love Rollins to death, but that shit is not believable.
Well, I mean, it's like now. I mean, with Drew beating him in 5 minutes, it was just like, whatever. I mean,
yeah, but he's still Brock Lesnar at the end of the day, and CM Punk is still going to be CM Punk at the end of the day, if we're being 100% honest. But they don't need to give him the belt right away. They need to draw it out. They need to build CM Punk back up, because he hasn't done great since he left WWE. Like, it's not me shitting on him, but he needs to get back into the rhythm of thing. So I think that's how we would book CM Punk in AEW, because we both want him to win the title.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make any sense for him to come back from a 7-year layoff, and as high as he was when he left, it doesn't make any sense for him to come back and not win the title. But again, and I'll go back to the Flair Hogan thing. It was the same. See, Kenny's got some people he can work with. I mean, they could build up, they could turn MJF face if they wanted to, but MJF's enough of an asshole that, he can still be heel and have a heel versus heel match with Kenny. But Jericho could be built back up to face Kenny. You got Adam Page. Hell, even Miro. Miro can say he's the most dominant champion because he's how good he's looked with the TNT title. There's a lot of different people for Kenny to work with to get past that point. But it's like when Hogan beat Flair all those years ago, who else was there for Hogan to work with? Nobody. And they finally put him up against Vader, and had Flair with Vader, but there just wasn't nobody. There was nobody else for Hogan to work with, and they put the belt right on him, which kind of, in my opinion, screwed him. But like I said, there's a lot of things Kenny can be doing in the time while he's not completely ignoring CM Punk. He's acknowledging him, but also acknowledging the fact he's been gone 7 years and got his ass kicked in UFC, and he's just not on his level anymore.
Yep, I think that's what they need to do. But I'm excited to see CM Punk in AEW. I know I've been a big CM Punk fan for years, and so seeing him back, it's going to be great.
Well, and that's first he's got to debut. We got to make sure it's not rumor and innuendo. We got to make sure it's actual fact, which I think it is, and so do you. But at the end of the day, he's got to actually debut first, and then we go from there.
Yeah, but I don't have much else to say. Anything else, Jason?
Well, I don't know if your mind's scattered or not, but
It is.
We actually did push start. You can catch us on iTunes. You can catch us on the Push Start Media Network, where you can't do nothing unless you just what do you have to do, Christian?
Push start.
Yes, Push Start. There you go. All kinds of good gaming information on the Push Start Media Network out there as well. Check out our boys and follow us, share us, and don't forget that 5-star review. Leave us a comment, and if you got any questions, you got something you like to hear us talk about, just send an email to one of Christian's 456 different email addresses.
Mm-hmm.
Which one would that be?
ChristianIngramYT@gmail.com.
Or you can catch me at j.brandoningram@gmail.com. Either one. We're all over the place on social media. You can go in there and give me some more heat on my TikTok video if you want. That'd be kind of funny.
Or come join our Facebook group, How We'd Book It Fans Pro Wrestling Group.
Yes. Send us I want to join your group. And we'll add you. We don't mind.
We'll interact. We're actually very active on there.
Yeah. That's my favorite picture that I posted so far was still the Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss. That was pretty fucking comical.
Yeah. And if you don't know what he's talking about, go join the group.
And as far as old Chick Magnet Punk in AEW, that's how we'd book it.